Hello and welcome back to the Minetrek.net game server. A little bit of an update on the Enterprise E as in Edward. I just finished up deck 13 and I'm in the process of proofing it out. So let's go ahead and take a kind of a walk down there and see what we got going on here. We'll go ahead and go through these gangways here, get down a couple of decks, and just sort of kind of walk around and look, see what we got going on here. So you can see there's some slight style changes for corridors and stuff that I haven't really figured out yet. These will probably get all updated. These are from some of the previous work that I've done. We're on deck 4 currently. Go ahead and take a turbo lift. We'll just go all the way down here to deck 13. Deck 13 is a pretty impressive deck, actually. Through here, and we'll work our way towards the center. You can see in the map there. Step down in here, and we are actually in the cargo and parking bay for the hangar. You see there's some shuttles up on lifts. Now, I don't know if we're supposed to have 2 shuttles on the lifts or not. This may be a mirror effect, but not really certain yet. So, but we'll go ahead and go to the... let's walk around this hangar. This is a pretty impressive hangar. Even, well, it's a parking bay. It's not actually the hangar. The hangar is above us. But this parking bay is actually, it updated pretty nicely. Now, I still have to go through and replace all of these blocks with the current style that I like. But I left them just for right now, because to update them right now would be kind of a pain in the pipe. But I will get them updated before the next video, hopefully. And I'll show you why. So we walk around here and take a look at this massive parking bay. Now this parking bay is big, but the one on the Luminosity B, oh my gosh, that bay's seriously impressive to look at. But it's based off of a little bit off of this, not too much so, but quite a bit off of the design that we had here. Okay, see how we have a shuttle hanging here? It's bugs, it's things like this that as I go through the build I find and I just have to remove because they're just, you know, they're artifacting from previous builds. So at some point there was a shuttle parked here. And I don't know if it was actually here or if it was in a lair, but if we come up here, there's nothing up here, and there's obviously something, should have been something down here. So and I think these shuttles have been updated, so they might actually be replaced. Again, I don't know why this one would be up on a lift mirrored with this one, but you know, who's to judge? Let's go ahead and go down using this. See, this lift is actually extended. So we'll come down here, and now we're in the actual cargo bay of the ship. This is deck 13. Let's go ahead and walk around and take a good look at this. This is a pretty impressive bay. When I designed this, I didn't think it'd come out this good. I just needed to get something done because I was waiting on the guys to step up and do some work, and nobody wanted to. When I mentioned it before, replacing the walls in the upper bay, I made it replace them with this. And it's a little bland, but it fits the overall build much better than the other style did. As we come across here, you get to see it in its grandeur. It's actually very cool. That is something I just added. This right here, this hatch. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and go into spectator mode. And we'll drop down. As you can see, it goes all the way down. And I had to do some revision work. I had to actually move the turbo lift around a little bit so it actually has a roundabout instead of a straight shot in like it used to have. And I got away. I moved these here. Used to be actually way back here. There used to be a corridor that came to the turbo lift entrance. So I just moved the corridor back and wrapped the turbo lift around a little bit around this triangular shape here. And I'll show you why here as we drop down and out of this. Shadow and I discovered, well, when we were working on his build, it just seemed logical based upon what we had learned with the Enterprise D, that this would be a external cargo hatch for this ship, for this forward section of the ship. So if they needed to move cargo in and they didn't, you know, they could use this. they could just open this hatch up and they'd have access to this level, and then of course all the way up to the cargo bay itself. It's just a direct chute. So if they actually had to dump something, they could dump it out the cargo bay directly out below the ship. Say if they, wanted to build a canister that they could drop it right out of this, filled with antimatter, right onto another ship. Or if they really wanted to, they could, load a bunch of space marines in here, and this would be their exfil. They'd just come out through here. They would obviously stage in this area here, so I might actually convert this area here to be kind of like what I have right here. In fact, actually, I think that'd be a pretty good idea. Problem is you can see carpet. The reason there's carpet is because there's not a lot of stuff here to do with. Now, I can, just because I want to, I can actually change the shape of this down here, and I can accommodate what I want to do. Although I like the way it looks. That's the only, I think, one of the reasons why I've kept it the way it is. But I did do a lot of rework down in these sections here in order to, let's go ahead and go back out of spectator mode, in order to facilitate the gangway system here. I had to make some changes, and this is from deck 13 down. So all of this area here had to be slightly modified. I kept the roof pattern, but I did have to shorten it a little bit. And I also brought the turbo lift down. You can see it has a mesh flooring, and the reason for that is if the ship is docked, they can actually couple with the say a space station could actually extend an umbilical up to a turbo lift umbilical up to the ship and actually attach to the ship, so the ship's turbolift system would become one with the Starbase turbolift system. And that is actually something that's been around since TOS. So it's a pretty cool concept. It allows people to move around the ship. I just, go from the bridge of the ship to, say, the big arboretum on a starbase, or quarters on a starbase, things like that. So pretty neat stuff, pretty neat stuff. But as we come back up through here, you can see that this right here was just had to be done. Now there's no way to move from this cargo bay into these areas here because I do need the turbolifts to come around. So that's why, these bays, these are, actually I don't think these are cargo bays, these are more along the lines of gravity generators, auxiliary stuff. So these are rooms that haven't had machinery put in them yet. All the machinery will be put in them before I move this deck up. And this is deck 14, so this is actually the beginning deck, the primary beginning deck of the secondary hull. Now if the ship's separated, deck 13 would also be part of the separation plane for the ship. But since this ship does not separate, we don't have to worry about that. Now if we went with the original, like say the strategic design deck plans, then this whole area here would be an independent ship. It would be basically, it'd be its own little ship. And the space between here would actually be different. This would be a 5-block spacing between this deck and this deck, or the deck above it and this deck, because technically this part of this deck would actually be part of this deck. So it's kind of hard to explain. You'd have to see the ships separate, like in Star Trek Online, to understand what I'm talking about. It's an interesting concept, but really, if we'd implemented, we could implement it. I cannot retrofit it into this design, unfortunately. There would be too much that would require me to, I'd actually have to add a layer right here, and then I'd have to shape it. Actually, I'd actually have to add 2 layers, and I'm not going to do that. So that's not going to do it. Now my build over there, the original build that I did for this, my first Starborn build, which is about 2/3 the size of this ship, if that, it does separate. It does have a separate. So that's a prototype. So that would be like an NX class vessel. Anyways, we're back into this, and we're still in spectator mode, so it'll allow us to move around a little bit. Actually, let's go out of spectator mode because we don't need to be in it. Now, as I said, I had to rework these so that I could double wall these gangways here. And this gangway, if you follow it up, goes all the way up to the deck 1. This is the primary gangway to deck 1. So let's go ahead and go around here. So if we wanted to, we can actually go all the way up to deck 1 from here. Just updating that stuff. Follow these stairwells up, and it will lead you all the way up to deck 1. I've said it 3 times now. I just want to get it through everybody's head. That leads to deck 1. And I don't know, but should lead all the way down to the captain's yacht. That was the intent of doing this update, was to allow me to get all the way down to the captain's yacht. And here we are, captain's yacht. So if Picard wanted to, he could step off the bridge and go all the way down by just using the stairwell alone. This right here is for ladder access or Jefferies tube access. As you can see here, I've started to work on the Jefferies tube that would go to the aft section of the ship. So as you come down the main umbilical trunk, this right here would end on this deck right here, and I forget the number, so forgive me, but let's go ahead and get rid of that. And it used to just go straight back, but I had to wrap it around this here as well. So basically, instead of it would come around this and then go straight back. I just had it extended around a little bit more and then pushed it out to the corridors on either side and then running it straight back this way. I've been exploring the Jefferies tube systems a little bit on the ship. They should all interconnect at some point. I mean, one Jefferies tube in the front should actually eventually end up on this system here, on this main system here. You know, the interconnects you do have to cross corridors in some cases, or walk along the interior, just above or just below the main hull, and that's kind of a open to space kind of thing. Here's the auxiliary bridge. It's more of a square than anything else. Reason being, again, Minecraft limitations really put a dampener on getting oval shapes and odd shapes and stuff into the game. But yeah, it actually ends at the battle bridge, so they can technically come down off the main bridge to the not turbolift system, but the Jefferies tube systems, and work their way all the way back to the battle bridge. And it's a pretty secure path because it's really deep in the ship, so they would more likely have time to do it if they had to. Let's go back into spectator mode and work our way back up. Boy, that is a fall, isn't it? You go down faster than you come up, that's for darn sure. Okay, get your minds out of the gutter. But I did a lot of work through here on the sky bridge and up through here. This is a corridor for moving cargo, and all these cargo lifts, there are a bunch of them, move cargo via the decks and stuff like that, and up into this lab area. Now there's a bit of changes. Like this right here is for if you order a pallet of cargo, it can come through the turbolift right here. So have this, and I've actually added a few more of these into the areas of the ship for staging. And one of those new areas is actually on deck 13. It's towards the aft, but there's also one up here in the front. I believe it's up here, right here. Yep, right there. So you can load stuff, you can build the pallet on here, and it'll go into the system, and then off it goes to wherever it wants to go. It's a system I implemented. I came up with because I tried to figure out how would they move cargo through the Enterprise D. They're going to put it on pallets and run it through with a pallet jack, and unlike the Enterprise E here, which has a bunch of lifts to move stuff around, the D, because of its design, really doesn't have that feature in it. It does because we've added it in areas, but in some areas it doesn't. So the better way to move cargo around would be to use the existing turbolift system, like a pneumatic system. And that's where I came up with the design for it. And it seemed like a logical idea. I mean, if say you were coupled with a starbase, you would want to move cargo. You would just simply move cargo through the turbolift system because you'd be umbilical to it anyways. So it worked out well. Let's work our way up here. This is a long corridor. I try to avoid these long corridors with nothing to do, but in this case, I figure my logic behind this is if crap hit the fan, people would be in here waiting to get into the cargo bays, or if they have to, they can put store cargo in here for moving around the ship, and then people could come in here. Now, what I could do is I could move these walls back. Right here is just pallet parking, and I can limit the pallet parking. So if I wanted to, I could move the pallet wall back like this, and then this would become its own little room. And these would be emergency survival lockers. And I might do that. Actually, that's not a bad idea. It would, of course, narrow this space here, but at this point, we've got so much space we could actually forgo doing that. But this is more or less for like torpedo rack storage, additional torpedo storage and stuff. And I did redesign this upper torpedo storage or probe bay. As you can see, it would actually comes down here and then goes into the torpedo launcher. And it can also load torpedoes. I believe one of these systems, it may not be this room here, it might be actually down below us. There's a torpedo loader which loads torpedoes from the external of the ship. It all feeds into this system here. But I extended this room because I had to move this corridor. I had to move this corridor. Beforehand, this corridor was actually on the inside of that wall there and then went over. So I moved it out. And the reason I did that is it makes the shape look a little bit more, you know, rounded instead of coming to a point. And I needed it to do it for this purpose. So I want to be able to not go down here, but I want to be able to get the Jeffries tubes to come down to this deck 13 right here and stop. And let's go ahead and, whoops, I was going to seal this off earlier because I was actually considering how I would move the turbolifts or the Jeffries tube system down even further, and I couldn't come up with an idea for it. So let's go ahead and put you there, and oops, you there, and we'll go ahead and go to the other side here and do that real quick. I can walk through this project 100 times, and each time I do it, I'll always find something new to fix. Before I started recording, literally moments before I started recording, I had gone through here and did that and spent an hour just walking each deck looking for flaws and problems. And each time I do it, I find something new. It's just the way it is. You're always going to be designing and updating. I mean, some of it's just as simple as, oops, I need to put a different doorway in because I forgot to change the doorway to this block here. Now, right here, this corridor here wraps around the roof of a very large lounge. So what I'm thinking about doing with this lounge is actually right along this area here. Once I put this deck together, I might come back through and I might put windows right here. So this becomes more of a gallery deck. That way there it's kind of broken up a little bit. And come through here, you can see these as the main windows. Now, there's not a lot of information about what this area is, and to be honest with you, I had nothing to do with the design of this room. But what I've been trying to do is keep these things designed as well as possible. Holographic communication and holographic interaction terminals. I don't know what this room is. It could be a war room. I don't know. It could be a conference room. I remember having a large VIP dining meeting activities hall. So that's what this is. And I remember debating with the guy that designed this room. Now I recall he wanted to put, you know, like conventional. If you go to a hotel and you have a conference room in a hotel and they have these sliding walls that fold up like you do at like in some cases schools. That's how they divide a schoolroom between. You know, they just have these sliding walls that fold up and stack on the side. Well, he wanted to do that here, and I was like, no. They'd use a hologram to do that, to build a wall. And I had a big debate with the guy. I got really frustrated with that individual because when that individual had an idea, you know, he would not listen to reason no matter what you tried to do. So I might actually redo that whole area now that I'm thinking about it, or, you know, maybe ask... not redo it, but, you know, update it, fix it, change it, because overall the style is pretty decent, and I don't see any reason to forgo the style because I can see where he was going with. He wanted to make a nice epic, you know, if anything, war room, because this could also be easily be a tactical, you know, a tactical command room. Windows to look out, you know, if the ship flies upside down, the bridge could be down here. The you know, Discovery style, who knows. Anyways, go ahead and go back up through here, and actually let's work our way out of this real quick. Here we go. Alright, so a lot of these windows here, man, I keep fixing these and I keep finding them. No matter how many times I update this, like I said, I've walked this ship a dozen times fixing things, and I've been down that corridor. This Deck 13 has taken the longest for me to do because of all the modification work that had to be done for this deck. I mean, a mega crap ton of modification work had to be done. And some of that modification work were these windows. Beforehand, these windows gave me bad dreams, and I had to go back through and I had to fix the symmetry on them, and I did. I fixed the symmetry on all of these windows around here, so now they all are symmetrical. They look good. They serve a function. They're not just, you know, shoehorned in. So I spent a lot of time doing that because I didn't want to affect the hull, but in some cases I had to actually add a block here and there to the hull in order to achieve the design aspect that I needed. Like, for example, before with carpet, we could put carpet on the hull, so I wouldn't have to remove, say, this block right here. That would be a hull block. All I did was just move it down by one block. So it basically it doesn't change the overall design of the ship in any regard. It just, you know, alters minor little areas that have no key effect or visual. No, you won't even notice it unless I pointed them out, because it doesn't change the shape of the ship. The ship remains the same shape. It's just I'm repositioning where a block would either step up or step down. And since I didn't have to do it that much, it really paid off, because all it was an attention to detail thing. And I just had to come back through here and just put some attention to detail into this deck. And once I realized that I could do that, it just opened the doors for just, oh, okay, I can do this, and I can fix this, and I can fix that. It's just sort of a cascading effect. And that's why this deck took so long, is because I'd go through it, and I would do small baby steps, and make sure everything looked good, and I would, okay, really think about it, and I would go back and forth, and I realized, oh, wow, these revisions are really looking good. They're really making sense. And that's when I implemented it. Now, beforehand, this corridor used to go straight over, but there's an airlock here. It's actually down there on that deck, and so I decided, well, why not make it a major EVA center? And that's what I did here, as I rounded the corridor like a U shape around this little area here, and then I just put in this EVA locker room, or EVA suit room. And beforehand, this was a lounge, another lounge. And it was kind of a funky lounge. I really didn't like it, because you had to step up into it, and it just didn't feel good. And you know, I'm just not feeling it. And I was like, okay, well, it is here, so we'll go ahead and leave it in. And thankfully, there was an airlock there, and then this design lent itself to doing that. Now, there's a fix I have to do either on this side or the other side. I haven't gotten to it yet. I found another block that was out of place. Now, I left the wool in here, mainly because I wanted to see how it looked stepping up into here. It looks so fine, so I might just leave that. If I roof it, I could easily roof it with these blocks right here, but I'll give it some thought. I don't know what I'll do, because there's still some design work to clear that. But there's the fish tank, or what I call the exotic atmosphere tank. Let's go ahead and come up in here. And what the exotic atmosphere tank is, an area for fishes or for aliens that don't breathe atmosphere. Bigger aliens, say if you explore a gas giant, there's a gas, and you find a, like, I don't know, space squid or space jellyfish or whatever, you can fill this area, can close it off and seal it off in areas and fill it with atmosphere that space alien could breathe. And I ended up adding this right here, which is an escape, you know, a fishy survival tank. And we have these on the Enterprise D. We implemented them on the Luminosity B recently, and I decided, well, we need them for the Enterprise E, but this is the only spot on the E that we could actually fit them in, because of there's these under the ship structures. Now, I found a couple other places I could put them in. I just couldn't get them to work. Now, if I had more interest and time, I'm sure I could probably, you know, shoehorn things in and fit things in, but I decided that this would be fine, because they also have the emergency transporters, and, you know, if push comes to shove, they'll probably have specialized, you know, whale shuttles that carry whales. But, you know, we'll figure it out. You know, technically there shouldn't be any whales in space anyways, but, you know, this is Indy. And then we have this over the bridge thing here. Now, in retrospect, we know that this area now is a cargo complex. It's not an exotic fish tank or anything else like that. It's just what we decided to make it. It's actually the cargo deck for the ship. And the reason I know that now is because I saw concept art from the guy that designed the Enterprise E and did some other design work, and he had these things open, and he had work bees coming in and out of them with cargo. I'm like, palm the forehead. Duh. But we don't have that here, so it is what it is. We just have to, call it what we call it. But anyways, an exotic area here. Now, we had to get our corridors into this area here, so this is the reason why there's a sky bridge here. And this was the best place to put the sky bridge because it allowed for things to go underneath it, like so. And I figured if the ship ever had to land, these things could retract, and this could actually be a way for the space whales or whatever, if the ship decided to go in the water. And who'd have thunk? This is, the JJ landed in the water. I mean, the JJ Enterprise lands in the water. Why not the Enterprise E? Technically, did we not start designing the E after that movie? I think we did. I don't know. 2014, I think, is when we started on the original build for this. But also, the reason why I can't seal this room off is because I would have no way to cross over from the starboard side to the port side, back and forth, and then allow things to migrate down this way here. I could, technically, I guess I could, if I really wanted to, come up with a way to put a corridor around there and stuff like that, but I'm lazy, and, I didn't this is back 2014 when I designed this. I didn't really, want to put a lot of thought into the fish area. I just needed to fill this space up with something that seemed to make sense, and at the time, this is what made sense, so I decided to go ahead and keep it. And here's the main transfer over for the fishies. Then we're into the starboard side. Now, here's another hatch. This is another space hatch. If we drop out of the ship here, you'll see that it's an actual space hatch. So, that provides another interesting dilemma to work out, but I figured that's probably used in the event that this area is open to space, and then they could open that hatch. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend using it. Now, I could at some point again come through here and redesign this whole area. Just pull it out of the ship and just say, okay, I want to redesign this whole area and redesign it. I don't see that likely happening. I'm just going to leave it the way it is, and say, hey, you know what? Design changes. This is something I went with. I like it. It looks cool. It made sense at the time. It doesn't make sense now, but that's okay. We can live with it. We can live with it. But as I go through the ship, there'll be things that I'll change and stuff. Like, I might change this around a little bit because I don't like seeing that lip right there. Things like that. Just little things. But this is more like a observation research area. Again, so scientists can, study stuff. And if push comes to shove, they could always use it for whatever they want to use it for. Space volleyball or something. Fun stuff. That's why there's so many windows and things like Gladiator 101. You're down here controlling your battle bots, and you have a whole bunch of people up here like betting and stuff like that. You get your VIP lounge over there. Who knows? Whatever they decide to use it for. But it seemed like a cool concept and everything else. Down here I did a little bit of rework because this is a lounge area here. And I'm going to come out of spectator mode. You got a little rock climbing wall right here, which only goes up so far. I should actually go ahead and extend that all the way up just for giggles and whatnot, but just a little bit of hopscotch and rock climbing and thing, and little yoga pads. Then I extended this up before, and this was just a corridor with windows. And then you would come down the little stairwell right here into this area here, and I figured, well, you know what, let's go ahead and extend this out, kind of a balcony thing, just to stand here so you can look through the windows a little bit more clearly. Then we could step down into here, into this lounge down here. So there's a lounge right here. Yay. And actually, let's go ahead and go forward here. We're back on deck 13, just so you're not lost. But as I go through, I've been exploring these Jeffries tubes and seeing where they connect and how they interlock and interconnect with each other. And like I said, come on, I'm gonna put a half slab there. There we go. They all interconnect pretty nicely. They do their jobs. They do their jobs well. And it's fun just to explore them to see how far you can go. You know, that's how I've been finding some of the flaws with them, like we just did with that one there. I just get in here and start exploring and looking around, and one thing leads to another, and oops, hey, there's something to fix. There's something to fix. There's something to fix. Walk along here. These are emergency trunks that allow you to move between deck for escape pod purposes and things like that. Come through a couple of these lab areas here. We have a kind of a, I think this is a cargo moving section of the labs. And again, this drops down into the deck 13. Outer rim on the inside portal area. So it all interlocks, it all comes together and stuff, and it's really cool to just, you know, explore the ship. And sometimes I find myself just walking around, not actually looking for bugs, but just going, wow, wow, this really came together well. I'm really happy with this. But if you get time and you do want to check it out, it is on the server, and we are currently still working on many of these builds. Creeper's still working on his build. Shadow Appler, when he gets to Fill and Bitter, he's going to be back on, and he's going to work on his build a little bit more. So right now there are two active builds, which is the revision for the Enterprise E. Creeper's working on the Discovery, I believe, and Wind Shadow's on, so it's an on-again, off-again project, the Luminosity B. So that's where we're at. This is a hydroponics bay. I made these little hydroponics tanks, just stuck them in here because I needed to fill the room and figured, why not? With that, I do appreciate you taking time to watch. Again, this is the Minetrek.net game server. If you've watched the entire video, thank you very much. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.